The Audrain Museum Network is growing like crazy. If you're not a subscriber yet, we want to know why. Subscribe right now. People keep saying, why doesn't this channel have 100,000 subscribers? Well, it's because you're not one yet. Do it right now, and you'll be amazed with what you see on this channel. We can't wait to bring you more great stuff. George Mason of the Nash Kelvinator Company was a man with a great vision. He had a great imagination and could look beyond what other people were doing to see what was possible. And that was very necessary, of course, because in the years immediately following World War II, Nash did very well, as did all the other car makers, because there was so little product on the market after the war. People were buying practically anything they could buy. And Nash profited along with all the other manufacturers during that boom. But George Mason realized that there had to be more. He had to pick a spot for his company to really excel in a way that other companies weren't. And he looked to Europe, to the UK and to Europe. He went to Italy and met with Battista Pininfarina to ask him to do something that Pininfarina had never done before, which is to give a restyling to the mass-produced sedans of an American manufacturer. And Nash was the first to do that in 1952, and they liked the results so much, it spread throughout the other lines. It spread to the collaboration that Mason was doing through Nash with Donald Healey, resulted in the Nash Healey, and this hands across the sea also resulted in the car I'm driving right now. This is a Nash Metropolitan, which is obviously a small car, manufactured by Austin of England in a collaborative venture with Nash, and when they merged with Hudson as well, and they actually kept this model in the line through the merger that created American Motors. So this car was actually produced in the model years 1954 through 1962. Production has spanned from late 53 to mid 61. And it was a very interesting project as well, because this car was aimed at the new suburbanites and specifically targeted as a second or perhaps even third car for the family. And as such, the idea was that women largely could use this as a local commuter car in their communities, while Dad took the station wagon to the train station and parked it all day. Didn't make much sense, but there you are. And to that end also, Nash and George Mason and George Romney were great at product placement. I'm sure lots of people who have never heard of Nash's know of the really sleek sports car that was in the movie Sabrina with William Holden and Audrey Hepburn. That was a Nash Healey. And anyone who grew up watching television in the 1950s, watching Superman, knew that Lois Lane drove a Nash. Perfect product placement for a career woman to drive this smartly styled, easy to handle car. And the prototype of the car was designed by a fellow named William Flageolet in Michigan. And he was a very interesting character who was a terrific designer. He also was an enthusiast of Italian cars. He quite famously had a Fiat Ottovu Supersonic by Ghia, which he modified to his own tastes. And so he did the design for this car, and one of the ideas that he was kicking around was having body panels that could be interchangeable, front to back, left to right, to save money in production costs. Well, by the time the car reached production, all that was left of that idea were the doors, which, if you notice, are identical from left to right, front to back. So it wouldn't matter, you wouldn't have to produce left-hand doors and right-hand doors, just produce doors and just make the cut-in for the door handle where you needed it. The car was also sold by Austin for a while as well, in England, and it found certain success, realizing that there was a bit of a sort of a small car mini craze in the US in the mid-50s, when people were just starting to notice the imports like the Volkswagen and Renault Dauphine and other cars like that, which died off towards the end of the decade as people discovered and rediscovered big cars, and people really didn't want to have something that didn't have road-hugging weight and wasn't longer, lower, and wider. So the appeal of a car like this began to wane. In addition, of course, it was not updated, and by that time American Motors really had no vested interest in a product that had been started by Nash in the early 50s. So off it went into seeming oblivion. Today, these cars are absolutely beloved as collector cars because they're one of those cars that bring a smile to everyone's face. They're also rather fun to drive. Are they powerful? No. Do they handle amazingly? No. But they're fun. They're light, they're nimble. You get the feeling of, and this is something that Austin could not get in their models that they tried to export to the US. This feels like a foreign car, but somehow thoroughly American at the same time. So I think that was a great tribute to William Flageol's design and to the realization of it by Mason and Nash. This car is probably most notable in this guise and the convertible. They also made a coupe, which is a very attractive car. And it's got, I guess, the Brits who built the car would say, a certain cheekiness, you know? It's got attitude, and it's a good attitude. And it's perfect for a day like this, a warm fall day, just driving through the countryside with the wind, not in my hair, but of course, on your cap, and just enjoying the smells of the fields and the lusty roar of the engine. And for an application like this, it's absolutely perfect. I think that it was also quite ideal as that second or third or even fourth car for the suburban family. And this is, again, one of those cases where the parts don't really count for a lot, but the whole is much more than those parts. And a car like this, especially as a collector car, it just brings smiles for miles, and for that we can be very grateful. There have been a lot of them that have been very well restored. If you want one of these cars, look for the best you can find. You don't necessarily want to restore one. They'll be fairly simple to restore, but the details are what counts on these cars. And you'll have a blast driving it. This is the kind of car that you'll want to go out for ice cream, even if you don't like ice cream. So, all hail the Nash Metropolitan. A great cross-ocean venture, beautifully realized.